There is a specific moment that happens almost every morning, right after you open your eyes. Before you've even had a full thought, your hand is already moving toward your phone. You don't decide to do it. It just happens. Like your body knows the motion better than your mind knows the reason. Most people never notice this moment for what it actually is. They think it's just a habit. But something much older and much more important is happening in those first 60 seconds, and it's quietly deciding what kind of day you're about to have. Psychologist Roy Baumeister spent years studying something he called ego depletion. The idea that your ability to regulate yourself, your focus, your patience, your discipline works like a battery. It doesn't recharge instantly. It fills slowly, overnight, and it's at its highest point the moment you wake up. Here's the disturbing part. Most people spend their fullest battery of the day on the least important decision they'll make, scrolling through other people's lives before they've even had a conversation with their own mind. Baumeister's research suggested something uncomfortable. It's not that people lack willpower during the day. It's that they spend their strongest reserve of it in the first few minutes, on autopilot, before they've chosen anything on purpose. This matters right now because if your mornings feel chaotic, reactive, or heavy, it's very likely not a character flaw. It's a pattern that was never interrupted. So today we're going to walk through 3 specific things you can do in the first part of your morning that quietly begin to shift this pattern. Not big, dramatic changes. Small, deliberate moments that psychology suggests can start to change how your entire day and eventually your entire life begins to feel. The first thing is this. You delay reaching for your phone. Not forever, just for a few minutes. You know this moment. You wake up, your eyes are barely open, and already there's a pull, a small itch, to check what happened while you were asleep. Messages, notifications, other people's opinions, arguments, achievements, before you've even decided how you feel about your own day. Here's the mechanism behind it. The moment you look at that screen, your brain receives dozens of small, unrelated pieces of information, almost like static, and it has to start processing other people's emotional weather before it's processed your own. Psychologists call this attention residue, when your focus gets fragmented by too many inputs too early, and it lingers, making it harder to concentrate clearly for the rest of the day. You begin reacting before you've even had the chance to set an intention. When you delay this, even by 5 or 10 minutes, you're not just avoiding a distraction. You're protecting a window where your mind actually belongs to you. That's the reframe. This isn't about phone addiction or self-control. It's about ownership. The first few minutes of consciousness are some of the only truly quiet minutes you'll get, and reclaiming them is less about discipline and more about defending your own attention before the world gets to define it for you. Here's a truth worth sitting with. The way you spend your first 10 minutes often becomes the emotional filter for your next 10 hours. The second thing is this. You sit in stillness before you sit in noise. Maybe it's 2 minutes. Maybe it's 5. You're not scrolling. You're not planning your to-do list. You're not even fully awake in that busy, productive sense. You're just still. This feels unfamiliar to a lot of people, almost uncomfortable, because we've been trained to associate movement with productivity and stillness with wasted time. But there's a nervous system reason this matters. When you wake up, your body is transitioning between sleep states, and your stress response system, what's often called the fight or flight system, is still calibrating. If the very first input it receives is urgency, a buzzing phone, a rushed alarm, a mental list of everything you're behind on, your body responds as though there's a threat to manage, and it releases a small wave of cortisol before you've even stood up. A few minutes of stillness, even just breathing slowly and looking out a window, signals something different to your nervous system. It tells your body there's no emergency yet, which allows a calmer part of your brain, the part responsible for planning and thoughtful decisions, to come fully online instead of your body defaulting to pure reaction. This isn't about becoming a meditation expert. It's about giving your mind a few seconds to arrive in the day before the day starts giving you orders. When you do this consistently, mornings stop feeling like something that happens to you and start feeling like something you're gently stepping into. You start noticing you're less irritated by small things. You start noticing your first decisions feel more like choices and less like reactions. You start noticing that calm in the morning has a way of quietly following you into the rest of the day. The third thing is this: you complete one small physical action before you do anything else that matters. Making the bed, stretching for 2 minutes, drinking a full glass of water slowly instead of rushing it down. It sounds almost too small to matter, and that's exactly why most people skip it. But here's the psychological weight hidden inside something this simple. This is what's sometimes called a small win, and small wins do something interesting to your brain. They provide immediate proof, not a promise, proof that you are someone who follows through. Before you've answered a single email or spoken to another person, you've already demonstrated to yourself that your intentions and your actions match. This creates a subtle shift in self-perception. Instead of starting the day uncertain about whether you'll manage to keep your own commitments, you start the day having already kept one. This is the final and most important piece, because everything before this, delaying the phone, sitting in stillness, is about protecting your attention. This last piece is about proving something to yourself. And self-trust, the quiet belief that you do what you say you'll do, is one of the strongest predictors of long-term well-being that psychology keeps circling back to. It's not motivation that changes your life, it's evidence. And that evidence starts accumulating the moment you complete that first small physical task. So here is where all three threads come together. That instinctive reach for your phone the moment you wake up isn't a small, meaningless habit. It's the first fork in the road, the very first decision point of your day, happening before you're even fully conscious enough to notice you're deciding anything. When you delay that reach, when you sit in a few minutes of stillness, when you complete one small physical action before the noise begins, you're not performing a productivity routine. You're quietly telling your nervous system and your sense of self that you are in charge of how this day begins. Not your notifications, not your urgency, not your habits running on autopilot. Healing, in this sense, isn't a single dramatic moment. It's not a breakthrough that arrives all at once. It's built in minutes like these, repeated day after day, until your mornings stop feeling like something you survive and start feeling like something you shape. If this gave you something to sit with, take a moment right now and picture tomorrow morning, specifically the first 5 minutes, and imagine choosing just one of these three things on purpose. If this helped you see your mornings a little differently, tap like so this reaches someone else who needs to hear it too. And if you want more of this kind of grounded, honest psychology, subscribe to the Human Mind Map. Tell me in the comments which one of these three things you're going to try first. Just type the number, 1, 2, or 3.